welcome back to another episode of the CRE Unspoken Truth. Joined here with my father, Craig Coppola. I'm Charlie. And today our topic, we have a follow-on on another one that we did, which was on brokerage and your marriage or dating, a little bit of dating advice on that other one. The one today is on parenting and brokerage. So you obviously have 4 kids, me being one of them. Tell me, when you were starting your career, I believe you always wanted to have a family. This was always something on your radar. How were you thinking about it when you were starting your career and maybe just starting your relationship or your marriage with Tracy, with my mom?
So, when we did the other one, it was interesting how much feedback we got on this topic. People were commenting on it, but now what's the next stages? And it was really interesting. We talked about the communication of when you first started dating, and then when you get engaged and get married to your significant other, your wife. In my case, this really set the tone for how we were going to do it. So when we got married, we knew we wanted a traditional marriage, and we wanted your mom to stay at home. So that was something that really set the tone for me to allow me to become the broker that I wanted to be, and then have since become. Without that communication up front, would have been very difficult. So when you're having the conversation, as you're talking about having a family, or when you start getting pregnant, the first thing is you go back to communication. And what is it that I want, and where am I going? At this point, you will probably know kind of the direction of your brokerage career. Am I going to be a top producer? Am I going to be a middling broker? Am I going to try and continue to get better? And those are the conversations that you want to have, because as you start parenting, there are going to be 1,000 conversations on a daily basis about who's going to do what, when, and how. So this is what we talk. We spent a lot of time, your mom and I, and there was like, okay, we have this general guideline. I'm going to be stay at home, but I always remember I'd come home when we had when we had Kate. I'd come home. We had just literally, Kate was born in August of 1991, and we started Lee and Associates in September, October of 1991. So we had a newborn at home, and we were starting a business. There were 7 of us that started the business, and your mom was exhausted with the newborn, and I was exhausted because we were starting a new company, and at the time I was finishing my MBA. And so we looked at each other as like, how do we get through this? And the answer is step by step, day by day, decision by decision.
Yeah. So we talked about in the last one, right? The other topic was having that commitment to your career, having that commitment to your relationship, and then also the communication between the two of you. I imagine very similar idea here with parenting is you're committed to your career, you're also committed to being a good parent, and then communication with your significant other and probably your kids on what that commitment looks like and what all needs to happen. Is that, I mean, that's got to be true, right?
Yeah, I think where people get into trouble, I think one of the things that we got very, 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 very clear on was that almost everything else got shoved aside. Everything else went away. So we were very clear that our priorities, my priorities, were making sure your mom was happy, making sure that I was a good father, and making sure my brokerage business was thriving. And then I added, you and I have talked about this. I added running because I was, our business is high stress, so I needed that. Those 4 things. Once I got done with ASU, those were the things that I did for a period of 5 or 6 years. There was really nothing else. And so I got super zoomed in, tunnel vision on those 4 things. And if it was outside of those 4 things, I rarely did anything else unless we could justify it. But it was not much else.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing that happens.
Yeah. So I'm curious the stages of kids. So you go newborns to toddlers to, preteens or elementary, middle school, and then, high school and beyond. How does your, and of course your career is evolving during that time as well, right? You're a young or up and coming broker, and now you're more of a middle-aged broker who's starting to make some money. Now you're a senior broker, you're a leader of a team, whatever it is. Talk me through the different stages, and we can start with the newborn. Typically, right, younger broker trying to make his career late 20s, early 30s, and you've got, a newborn or two.
Yes, I think the newborns, Tracy really handled the newborns. I got really, really engaged once you hit 4 or 5 and we were coaching. That was one of my things that I coached every single sport for every single kid. And that you have to take advantage of the brokerage skills that way. But as newborns, we're going to say, okay, how do I get you the proper rest that you need? And then how am I going to go continue to make my business grow? And so there were some discussions on that because I would be exhausted coming home from work and Tracy was exhausted with a newborn. And I'm thinking, I'm walking in going, thank God I'm done for the day. And she would just hand me your sister. And I'd be like, oh boy, this is not the same thing. And so I do think there were 4 distinct periods of time where I had to change my schedule to meet the needs of the family. The first one was when you have a kid. Now all of a sudden I'm at the whim of their schedule over mine, where before when I was single or I just was married to Tracy, I drove all decisions in the relationship and my schedule. Once we had a baby, then the baby and Tracy started dictating more of it. Once we had 2 kids, and certainly with 3 kids, it was the kids drove the schedule. And so by the time you have 3 kids, you have one that's in sports. So you're dividing and conquering. Tracy would be with the newborns, and I would take the toddlers and the kids that were in sports. And so we started dividing it up that way. So that newborn phase is the first one, just changes your life. When you have 3 kids, it changes your life again because now you have activities going on the outside. Then when you have the full family, we had 4 kids and we always had at least 2 or 3. So then we were dividing and conquering. I was coaching here. You would take this person to their game or whatever it is. And I think the key on that is the understanding. I think the key point we want to make here is communication first. Number 2, understanding that you're going to go through cycles, that you're going to actually have to change your schedule. And one of the beautiful things about being a broker is we have the ability to do that. And then I think the fourth thing that happened when our kids were fully, let's just say we had all 4 kids, I really understood that I needed to have a team, because I was going to drop some balls with all the business that I could get. It was really hard to be a father of 4, a husband, an athlete, and still have a great brokerage business. And which is one of the reasons why Andrew came on board, Chelsea came on board. And over the last 15 to 20 years, I've built this team out to allow me to do different things and be more flexible in my personal life.
And I think that's like what a lot of brokers and people who are getting into brokerage see in brokerage is the ability to make a lot of money and the flexible time schedule, right? Like I can make my own schedule. And so I would imagine those are, nice things to have when you're raising kids, right?
Yeah, they're great. A lot of brokers don't take advantage of them. They don't take advantage of the fact that they can work at midnight. They could work at 3 in the morning. They could work Saturdays. They then turn their own business into, well, I work Monday through Friday and I take weekends off. Well, why not just get a salary job if that's what you're going to do?
Right.
I don't believe I'm a big strategic coach guy, and that's free focus and buffer days. I don't ever think about Saturday as a weekend. Haven't for 30 years. If I'm in Phoenix on a Saturday, I'm working. And I'm working because I can. And that's just the way it is. And so I think we have to really, inertia chases a lot of brokers. They are inertia driven. So they're like, oh, I'm not having to call my clients, so I'm going to take the day off. That is not really how you get ahead in our brokerage business. And that's certainly not how I got ahead. I would get up early on a Saturday morning. One of my secret sauces, I worked every Saturday. Even if I was coaching you and you had a 9 o'clock game, I'd be up at 3 in the morning. I'd work for 4 or 5 hours and then I'd go coach your game. And I think a lot of brokers say they don't think about that way,
Yeah,
but they should.
right. So you talked about how the stages of kids changes your schedule, right? You're maybe having newborns changes your life. Then now you have to adjust your schedule to go drive them to games, or they're in after school activities. How about your brokerage career? How does it change? Obviously, as you age and you grow, um, what changes in your 20s, 30s, 40s? That goes kind of parallel to the family changes.
Well, I think we've talked about this on other issues, is that the ability for a broker over the next 20 to 30 years to survive and thrive is that broker's ability to grow and change. Technology is going to change us. Your life is going to change you. How you raise your kids is going to change. Your relationship with your spouse and with your kids
The
and your
market,
team is going to change. The market's going to change
yeah,
dramatically. All of those things change. And so if we look backwards as a broker and we say, oh, we were so successful doing it this way. And then we look forward and we have to change. I've said this for 30 years. I've watched guys become dinosaurs and lose their business, their entire business. And I've watched people who have been brokers for 30, 40, 45 years retire without any clients. And I'm like, you had a thriving business where you did thousands of transactions. You should have been able to refer 500 clients to another broker instead of just retiring without any clients. But you didn't morph, you didn't change, you didn't do that. And so we really want this as part of parenting is to grow with your children. Do the same thing with your business. Grow your business differently. Change as your parenting tactics change, as your kids grow, so should your business be changing, because technology, and we've had another episode on this, in technology and brokerage under Mythbusters, that's what this is going to be.
yeah. So you now have four kids out of the house, grown, on their own, empty nester. How does that talk me through that change, right? Parenting and your brokerage business.
Well, I think the empty nester piece of the business was very interesting because your mom got unemployed, right? So she was unemployed and she was wanting me to be around. So there's another change there where I had to be at home earlier. When there was four kids at the house and we were running around, I not getting home before 9 o'clock was a regular thing. With nobody home, coming in the door at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night so that we could have dinner and have a conversation became that. And then we got the grandkids, and now she's fully employed again. She has a full-time job being grandma. And so now I'm going back to what we used to have a little bit more, where she's got commitments again. And so it frees up my business to be able to do maybe a little bit more than I had been the last 4 or 5 years as empty nesters.
Yeah. So brokerage, right? You've got it's a sales role, right? It's an ability to make commissions and high income. You have, some flexibility with your schedule. Of course, clients call, deals blow up. You lose all your flexibility immediately, and we see that all the time with brokers day to day with Series 1 source. And that happens. But generally you have flexibility. You talked about working at weekends and at nights, and you can do that. And I'm curious, like what else is different about brokerage compared to other jobs when parenting, right? If anything.
Well, if you think about, let's just go to parenting. One of the things we used to always say is you your kids are always changing to another stage.
Yeah.
Like right now, one of the grandkids is hanging on to Kate day and night. She's clingy, won't go away, won't let her dad hold her, won't let anybody hold her. But that's a stage that's going to change. And so the same thing happens in our brokerage business. There are stages in our brokerage business, and if we don't grow and change those, technology, team building, eliminating, adding new clients on a consistent basis. If you get 10 clients and then you think they're going to be your gravy train for the next 20 years, simply not going to happen. So whatever we learn as a broker and we learn as a parent, we can use both of those to learn in each other's business. I used to say all the time to your mom, we know this stage is coming. Let's get ahead of it so that we are both on the same page. I say the exact same things to Andrew Cheney. We know technology is changing how brokerage is gonna affect our business. How are we going to change to be ready for that? And that's just one easy example. I can explain there's 10 other ways that we do it that might be a different conversation, but the ability to grow, the ability to change, the ability to be better, the ability to see the future with your own kids and your brokerage business go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I can vouch too, just on our business. You ask me that question all the time. Hey, AI is coming, or our team is going to be, changing in this way, and it's going to show this, we're going to have to deal with this problem. Let's get ahead of that. And so it's a fantastic quality. I think you do it really, really well, probably more than a lot of people, of just getting ahead, being proactive, having those conversations, and being thoughtful about the upcoming changes. And I do think, and you'll be able to tell me better, I do think a lot of people aren't as proactive, and they feel out of control, whether it's with parenting, new requirements or needs from their kids, but also the business, client demands, technology changes they're not up to speed on, or just deals that they're not, as in tune with, that they're not aware of the upcoming challenges. So it's a critical skill, I think.
Yeah, we knew as parents our kids were going to go through puberty, there was going to be rebellion. You know that getting ahead, so you have to smart. One of the challenges today, people won't say no to their young kids, so that when they become rebellious at the teenage years, they don't learn, they can't say no to them then. And so the kids grow up and they go all the way to high school, and no one's ever said no to them. And they've gotten ribbons now. So they've gotten ribbons as a participation. There's no winning and losing anymore. They get out in the real world like brokerage, and they get their butts kicked, and they wonder why they're not doing well. The same thing happens on brokerage business. We talk about this. Everybody has a plan Sunday night, and then they get punched in the face on Monday morning, and they become reactive the entire rest of the week. And so I was just really focused on how am I going to be proactive, get out of the crisis business as much as possible, because we are a client-focused business and clients create havoc. Why would we create our own other havoc? And so it's so easy as a broker to get beat up and Friday afternoon, take off, and then roll back in Monday, and you're right back in that reactive because you haven't worked all weekend. And I never let that happen. I would refuse to do that. I am going to be prepared every week and just get a little bit out of the crisis business every week took 5 to 10 years. And now my business personally, I'm out of the crisis business 98% of the time. Very rare for a broker to have that. Crises don't affect me. Yeah, occasionally my teammates have it, and I can do that, but we are out of the crisis business because we understand all the issues that are coming. We know our kids, our clients are going to go through puberty. We know those things are going to happen with our clients, so we have to get prepared for them now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just a brutal way to live, always reacting, always in the crisis
Brutal.
mode, brutal with work, brutal at home with kids. It's just, it would be, and I'm not there with kids, obviously, but, I'm hoping not to be totally reactive and in crisis mode. So,
We applaud, and we see the people who are 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 buying our systems, DealView and prospects. Those folks are wanting to get better. They're trying to get out of the crisis business. They're trying to be better. And those are the folks that are going to make it. So I think we're a bellwether. People who say yes to us are a bellwether for the brokers that are going to make it.
yeah.
And people who don't say yes to us they're saying no to being in the business 10 years from today.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a really cool thing to see someone who has that commitment, someone who shows it and owns it, and says, hey, this is something I know I need, and I know it's going to be an investment, and it's going to pay off for decades down the line. And that's, something I regularly tell our customers, hey, whether it's our system or not, you're going to have to put a little bit of time into this, and you want to be getting ahead of this. It's going to become an asset of you and your business, these habits, this data. And we think our system makes it easy and is best. But at the end of the day, for brokers to really thrive, I think there's an investment needed to being proactive and embracing change and kind of getting ahead of it.
And that's exactly what you just said, is exactly what you do as a parent.
Yeah.
You make an investment in your kids to spend the time to build the relationship so that when you say no, they know that you still love them. And that as they grow, they understand the boundaries that they're running to do, because your job is to release them into the world to become, self-supporting adults, which we have been very, knock on wood, we're very fortunate to have all four of our kids launched in the world doing well. And that is our job. That is our job. And it's the same saying. So I think there's a huge um, alignment with parenting and brokerage.
Yeah. Yeah. And building a team and building a family, right? So,
Correct. Correct.
amen. So,
Amen.
starts with clarity, starts with knowing what your top priorities are, and then also communication, communicating with your team, communicating with your partner, your significant other, communicating with your kids. Understand there are stages to your kids' lives, and there are stages to your parenting roles, as well as stages to your career. And things are always going to change. So get ahead of it, be proactive, be prepared for it, talk about it before it gets there. I think you can be better off. And it is fun to kind of watch brokers, and we have customers who have recently had kids. They're in the newborn stage, or they're in the middle age stage where they've got 10-year-olds, and it's fun to watch them juggle both, especially those who are investing in things and looking at things the right way, being a little bit more proactive. So um, that's it. Parenting and brokerage, a follow on from our other episode on dating and marriage and brokerage. And so if you haven't checked that one out, go check it out. Thank you so much. Another great episode in the books. And until next time.
Thank you.